He reached across the table and snatched my wallet. "Sweetheart," Evan said, sliding the card out with 2 fingers, "take Mom's card. There's around $180,000 on it." Tessa giggled, leaned over and kissed him. "You're the best," she said, waving the card like a golden ticket. Then she stood. She didn't even finish her plate. "I'll start at Sterling," she said. "If the limit lets me, I'm hitting Hamilton after." "No rush," Evan said, wiping his mouth. "She never uses it anyway." Laughter rolled down the table. Forks clinked. Someone poured wine. Tessa vanished through the front door before I could say a word. I sat there. Still. My hand was halfway to the breadbasket when it happened. "I didn't move it again," Mom Evans said. "You okay?" I looked up. Everyone stared at me like I was slow to understand. Or slow to object. Or both. "Of course," I said. "You two enjoy yourselves." The words tasted like dust. He smiled, satisfied. He thought he was generous for including me in the conversation. After dinner, I cleared the plates. No one offered to help. Evan and Tessa's friends moved to the living room. The television came on loud, some late-night comedy rerun. I could hear Tessa's laugh from upstairs when I passed the laundry room. I stood by the sink and let the hot water scald my hands. They didn't ask. They didn't even pretend to ask. It was just assumed that my money belonged to them now, that I wouldn't say no, that I couldn't. I dried my hands on a towel and walked out back. The air was cold. My room, the one they called the little suite, was just a converted storage room behind the garage. Thin drywall, no closet. Enough space for a twin bed, a nightstand, and a narrow dresser that creaked when you opened the drawers. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the worn carpet. The ceiling fan ticked quietly above me. My old purse sat in the corner where I'd left it before dinner. The empty wallet was still open. I closed it. Robert never would have let this happen. But Robert was gone. And I was here, behind the garage. In the house I helped them buy. I stood again and opened the top drawer. At the bottom, beneath a stack of old birthday cards, was the last printed bank statement I had. From before I moved in. 182,437.52. Last I checked, it was all still there. Now, I didn't know. I walked back to the kitchen, made coffee, and waited for Tessa to return. Around midnight, the front door opened. Arms full of bags. Laughter. Lipstick smeared from wine. Perfume too strong. Sterling had a sale, she said to no one. "Evan, you should have seen it." He came down in sweatpants, still chuckling from whatever was on TV. How much he asked. She tossed her hair back. "Only 82. I left some on it, figured that was polite." Then she looked at me, still holding my coffee mug. "You're still up?" she asked. I nodded. "You're not mad, right?" I looked at the steam rising from the cup. Then I looked at her. "No," I said. "Why would I be?" She smiled. Turned. Disappeared up the stairs. I didn't finish my coffee. Instead, I opened my notebook and wrote down the number. She said, $82,000. Then I added the date. In the morning, I would log into the account and check. I slammed the door shut and locked it. The thin wall rattled. A moth flew off the lampshade. I stood in the dark for a second, holding my breath. No one knocked. No one followed. The hallway lights from the main house didn't reach back here, just cold, uneven concrete under my feet, and the faint hum of the refrigerator from the garage wall next door. I turned on the lamp. The bulb flickered, then steadied. The mattress groaned as I sat. The bed springs had never been replaced. I pulled the curtain shut and peeled off my sweater. It was damp with sweat, not from heat, but from sitting still for so long. Laughter erupted again from the kitchen. Tessa's voice floated through the vent above the window. I told her I was being polite. I mean, I left her $100,000 to feel useful. A round of high-pitched laughter followed. Another voice chimed in. "You could have bought that whole Cartier set." Tessa again next week. She won't notice. I stared at the wall. I could almost see the words carving into the drywall. I made coffee. The single cup machine clicked and whirred louder than usual. I kept my hand on the counter to steady it. This used to be the mudroom. There were still faint hooks on the wall where they once hung winter coats. I poured the coffee into my chipped mug. No cream left. Just sugar and memory. They didn't see this space as part of the house. It was just where I stayed, not a bedroom, not a home, just tolerated space, like a coat rack that hadn't yet been thrown out. I sipped, bitter. I looked around. On the shelf, one photo of Robert and me from his retirement party. Framed, dusty. On the nightstand, 3 bottles of pills. Heart, blood pressure, sleep. I was down to 3 doses of the latter. I used to keep them in the bathroom cabinet. Tessa had moved them to a drawer after complaining they cluttered the vibe. Now they sat in my room. Like me, relegated. I opened the bottom drawer of the dresser. Everything folded by hand. Towels on the left. My good shoes in a cloth bag on the right. In the middle, my notebook. I flipped it open. Wrote 1 word on the top line, sterling. Below it, $82,000. Then a line beneath it. She left $100,000. I circled that. Left. As if it belonged to her. The rest of the night passed in silence, broken only by distant laughter music and the thump of heels against tile upstairs. By 2 a.m., the house went quiet. I shut the notebook. Set it under my pillow. Then I pulled the blanket over me and stared at the ceiling until morning. At sunrise, I dressed in silence, combed my hair, and made another cup of coffee. No one came to check on me. When I stepped outside, I saw Evan's car was gone. I walked up the side path toward the mailbox. The sun hadn't yet reached the fence. Inside the mailbox, nothing for me. Just glossy ads and something from the jewelry store downtown. Tessa's name scrawled across the envelope. I slipped it back in. Then I walked 3 blocks to the public library. Logged into the computer. Entered my old bank login. I didn't blink when the balance came up. I just reached for the notebook again. I pulled the eggs from the fridge and set them on the counter. Flour, sugar, butter. I measured out everything with muscle memory. The oven was already warming. Tessa walked in heels, clicking against the tile. Her lipstick was fresh. Hair curled. Earrings new. She saw the mixing bowl and frowned. "What's that for?" "I thought I'd bake something for your mother's birthday," I said. "A carrot cake, maybe. She liked it last time." Tessa adjusted her purse strap and shook her head. "No need. We ordered one from that French place downtown." I wiped my hands on the dish towel. "Still, I can. It's family only." She cut in. Her voice was flat, final. I nodded. She stopped at the doorway. "You don't need to cook tonight either. We'll be eating out. Evan's driving." I looked down at the bowl, then back up. "Of course," I said. She left. The oven beeped behind me. I turned it off. Put everything back 1 item at a time. Later, from the back room, I watched through the slit in the curtain as Evan carried balloons to the car. Pink and gold. Tessa was in a tight dress coat, barely covering her shoulders. Her mother stepped out a minute later, laughing too loud, already tipsy, from whatever they'd started drinking inside. I stood behind the curtain, long after the car pulled away. The house emptied of noise. The hallway was dim. I made coffee, drank it standing up. Then I washed the sink. Then the stove. Then the countertop. Then the dishes they'd left behind. One plate still had lipstick on the rim. I scrubbed it twice. By 8, they were still gone. By 9, I stopped waiting. I opened the drawer where I kept my old birthday cards. The last one from Evan was 5 years ago. A printed message. No note inside. The one from Tessa was shorter. "Thanks for everything." That was 4 years ago. I lit a candle anyway. Not for anyone's birthday. Just because the kitchen felt too cold without it. The back door creaked. I turned off the candle. Evan came in first, laughing, shirt untucked. Tessa followed, coat off, shoes dangling from her hand. Her mother didn't come back. Must have been dropped off elsewhere. They didn't see me in the hallway. Just brushed past and disappeared upstairs. I walked back to the sink. Opened the faucet. Let the water run hot. Their champagne glasses were on the counter. I washed them first. One had a lipstick print. Then I did the wine glasses. Then the forks. Then the knives. Then I took the trash out. Under the stars, I tied the bag shut, dropped it into the bin, and stood there a moment longer than needed. The wind pushed at my sweater. I didn't move. Somewhere inside, Evan's voice rose. He was telling a story. Something about the bill, about how generous he'd been, how surprised the waiter looked when he signed the check. Tessa laughed, not the soft kind. I walked back inside and locked the door behind me. The lamp in my room clicked on. I pulled the notebook from under the bed and added 2 more notes. Dinner, $420. Carrot cake, rejected. Family only. I didn't underline anything. Instead, I opened the next page and drew a line straight through the center. Then I waited for it to dry. I tapped the iPad screen, entered the passcode. Evan never changed. Needed the weather. Rain had been heavy all week. I didn't want to risk mildew creeping into the storage boxes outside. The home screen loaded. Notifications bloomed like weeds. Group Me Messenger WhatsApp. I ignored them. Pulled up the browser. Typed in the forecast. Showers. 58 degrees. Gusts from the south. Then the screen blinked. A banner dropped from the top. Group chat, Goddess Gang Tessa. ATMs refilled girls. I stared. Didn't move. Another popped up before I could react. Sammy. She doesn't even ask what a gold mine. Jade. Imagine having $180K in walking money and not knowing it's gone. My hand hovered. I clicked the message. The thread loaded instantly. Tessa. She still thinks the bank sends paper mail. I recycle it before she sees. Sammy. You're awful. Tessa. Awfully lucky they kept going. Photos of bags, labels, screenshots of charges, Sterling, Hamilton, Atelier 31, spa packages, all tied to the same card. One message near the bottom, Tessa. If she ever checks, we'll say she agreed. She won't remember. I locked the screen, set the iPad down on the entryway table. I didn't say a word when Evan came downstairs and reached for it. Thanks, Mom, he said, smiling. She always leaves it somewhere. I nodded, walked past him, didn't speak. In the kitchen, I poured water into the kettle, dropped the tea bag back in the drawer, took out instant coffee instead. When it was done, I stirred slowly, metal against ceramic. Over and over, I didn't drink it, just held the mug until the steam disappeared. Upstairs, the sound of heels, drawers opening. Tessa was packing again. A minute later, she breezed through the kitchen clutching a beige tote. Going out, she said. Want anything? I shook my head. Didn't think so. She left the front door open behind her. I closed it. Back in my room, I opened the notebook. Flipped past the last page. Started a new one. Goddess Gang chat. ATMs refilled. She doesn't even ask. She still thinks the bank sends paper mail. Say she agreed. Say she won't remember. I didn't underline. I didn't circle. I just wrote it down. Then I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out the thin file folder I hadn't touched since last spring. Inside, old photocopies. Bank statements. My original signature on file. Power of attorney unused, unsigned. Still valid. Still mine. I slid them back in. Smoothed the folder, placed it under the pillow. The lamp buzzed above me. I turned it off. Sat in the dark. Quiet. Evan came home 2 hours later. Alone. I heard him set his keys down. Then footsteps toward the fridge. A bottle opened. He didn't call for me. Didn't ask about dinner. I heard the fridge shut, then the soft chime of his phone. A second later, laughter. Short, sharp, familiar. I lay back, eyes open, staring at nothing. When morning came, I got dressed and walked to the corner store. Bought a new folder. Red, thick spine. The cashier said, "Back to school shopping." I smiled, paid in cash. Didn't answer. I tore open the top drawer and dumped it. Envelopes, crumpled receipts, expired coupons. One bent birthday card. I spread everything across the bed. Piles of useless paper. I sorted with both hands, fast-focused, no breathing room. I wasn't looking for anything specific. Just needed to know what they hadn't touched. Halfway through the mess, I found it. A cream folder. Faded corner. Robert's handwriting on the tab. Vanguard. I sat down. The paper inside was yellowing but crisp. Account number, registration date. His name and mine listed separately. Below a note in his handwriting, for her untouched. Let her breathe easy. My throat tightened. I turned the page. Balances. Quarterly returns. The last entry from before he passed. I logged into the site using the info he left on the post-it. Password still worked. It loaded. 94-221-36. Still active. Still mine. I covered my mouth. Not to hide tears, to stop myself from making a sound. I reached for the red folder. Slipped in the documents. Labeled a new tab private. I sat back. Let the hum of the desk lamp fill the room. The coffee on my nightstand had gone cold. I drank it anyway. Then I picked up the phone and dialed. Linda Hillman, came the voice. "It's me." She paused. "Mar, you okay? I need a favor." Quiet one. Her voice changed. Sharper. Professional. "What kind? Legal eyes. Fresh folder. Old account. Still clean. My name only. How much? 94,000. I didn't answer. She exhaled. "Where's the rest?" "Gone," I said. "But this one they don't know about." Linda didn't hesitate. "Bring it in. I'll stay late." I hung up. Slipped the red folder into my bag. Zipped it tight. I stepped outside and locked the door behind me. The air was sharp. A neighbor across the street waved. I didn't wave back. I drove to Linda's office and handed her the folder without a word. She opened it, scanned, whistled low. "I'll run full checks. Clean it up. We'll firewall everything. Quietly. Always." She handed me a fresh envelope. "Blank. In here," she said. "Anything else, just add. I'll hold it until you say go." I nodded. Took it home. At midnight, I heard Tessa laughing through the walls again. Some new delivery had arrived. Boxes stacked in the hall, labels still on. She walked past my door in silk heels in hand, whispering on the phone. "I'm serious," she giggled. "She has no idea. She still thinks we're poor." I didn't move. I placed Linda's envelope inside the bottom drawer and pushed it all the way back. Then I laid down, pulled the blanket up and stared at the ceiling. In the morning, I'd go to the library again. This time, not to check, but to print. I stopped when I heard my name. I hadn't meant to linger. I was just passing the hallway, laundry in hand, when Evan's voice broke through the half-closed door. "Look," he said low and sharp. "Mom owes me." Tessa didn't answer right away. Then the rustle of fabric, maybe her crossing her arms. Evan kept going. "She raised me alone. She put everything into me. Now it's her turn to pay it forward." I stood still. Not a muscle moved. "She has the money," he added. "And this makes you happy." Tessa sighed. "It does." Silence. Evan again. Then it settled. He sounded proud, confident, not unsure, not tricked, not pushed. He believed it. I backed up slowly, careful not to let the floor creak, and ducked into the laundry room. My hands shook. I folded the towel to hide it. It wasn't just greed. It was ego. It was surrender. He wasn't defending her. He was explaining me away, rationalizing theft as repayment. turning my effort into a balance sheet. I walked outside. Needed air. The backyard was muddy from the morning rain. The same patch of dirt where I used to plant basil now held a patio heater they never used. I sat on the edge of the step. Evan used to cry when he scraped his knees. I'd carry him in, clean him up, kiss the cut. I remembered his third-grade project. How we stayed up past midnight gluing felt onto cardboard. He thanked me once, whispered it. Now I heard him calculate me like a debt to be collected. I sat there until the sky went dark. When the kitchen light flipped on, I went inside. They were setting the table. Tessa opened a bottle of wine. Evan looked up and smiled like nothing happened. "Dinner soon, Mom," he said. "I got takeout." I nodded. After they ate, I cleaned. Tessa had already thrown the receipt in the trash. I fished it out. Wiped the edge. Read it. $312.40. I wrote it down later in the notebook. Below that, I added his words. "Mom owes me. It's her turn to pay it forward." I closed the book. Sat in silence. They went upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen waiting until the clock ticked past midnight. Then I opened the file from Linda. Laid it on the table. My hands didn't shake this time. I pulled out a blank check. Not to use, but to remind myself. The name on it was mine. Only mine. When the heater kicked on and hummed through the floor, I slid the papers back into their envelope. Tomorrow, I would print everything she asked for. And the day after that, I'd make my own copy. I opened the front door and smiled. Mrs. Duffy walked by with her dog eyes down. No wave, no glance. I held the smile 2 seconds longer than needed. Then I stepped back inside. The lock clicked louder these days. Tessa's friends were already in the kitchen, spread out like they owned it. Makeup bags, jackets, phone chargers. One leaned against the fridge and said, "Do you have oat milk or just regular?" She meant me, not Tessa. Me. I opened the fridge and pointed. "There's some left. Bottom shelf." She didn't thank me. Just reached past. Someone else laughed and whispered, "Do you think she understands half of what we say?" I turned away. Started wiping the counter even though it was already clean. The oven timer beeped. No one moved. I pulled out the quiche Tessa requested and set it on the cooling rack. She walked in, wearing heels and a silk blouse. Sunglasses on indoors. Took long enough, she muttered, then turned to her friends. "Don't worry, she's used to early mornings." They laughed again. I poured myself a cup of coffee. No cream left. Just what was at the bottom of the pot. I drank it cold. When they finally left, I scrubbed their plates in silence. Evan came down at noon. I asked if he wanted to have brunch. Just the two of us. He looked at his phone. "Tessa and I are hitting the farmer's market. You'd slow us down." He kissed the top of my head like I was a worn-out dog. Then he was gone. I stood there, holding the same sponge, the same plate stuck in the same loop. The clock ticked. Nothing else moved. I sat with my coffee until it went cold again. That evening, I walked down the street, past neighbors who used to talk to me. One turned into her driveway faster when she saw me. Another busied herself pulling weeds that weren't there. No one waved. I used to host block dinners. Robert would grill. The kids would run across the lawn. Now they shut their doors like I brought disease. I walked back slowly. The porch was quiet. The packages by the door were not mine. I carried them in anyway. Tessa had already claimed the big one. "New curtains," she said. "Custom." I asked where she planned to hang them. She smirked. "Definitely not in the shed you call a room." Later that night, I took out my notebook and wrote, "Cold coffee, closed doors. Neighbors don't wave." He said I'd slow them down. I drew a box in the corner. Inside it, I wrote one word, exit. Not a cry for help. Not a note to self. A beginning. Something to build toward. I folded the page over. Tomorrow I'd start measuring. I waited until the dishes were done. Tessa was scrolling through her phone feed, propped on the ottoman. Evan was on the couch beside her, arms crossed, watching something with the volume too low to hear. I sat on the edge of the armchair. Quiet. Calm. Tessa, I said. Do you have a moment? She didn't look up. Depends. I'd like to talk about the card, I said. The charges lately. Maybe we could go over them together. She blinked slow, then set the phone down. What she said. Now you're checking up on me. I didn't say that. I just... Her laugh cut through me. Sharp. Dry. She stood. We let you live here. We feed you. You wear our air. And now you want to go over things. I looked at Evan. He didn't flinch. Just leaned back, eyes still on the screen. I didn't want it to be a fight, I said. I was just asking. Tessa took a step forward. Her tone dropped. You think you have rights now? I have a right to ask, I said. She scoffed. You signed over control when you moved into the shed. You don't pay rent. You don't cover groceries. Evan takes care of you. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Evan spoke without looking at me. Let it go, Mom. We're not doing this tonight. I'm not starting a war, I said. He finally looked at me. Then don't act like you're owed something. That one hit. I stood up. My knees cracked. My coffee had gone cold in my hand again. I set it down on the side table. I'm not owed, I said. But I'm not erased. Tessa shook her head. You always do this. Play the victim. You gave us the card. You offered. We didn't steal anything. I never offered $82,000. She folded her arms. So now you're counting. I never stopped. That's when Evan stood. Enough, he said. You're lucky we let you stay here. Don't push it. I turned to leave. I'll be in my room. Tessa called after me. Your storage unit, you mean? I didn't answer. I walked out the front door instead. The air was cooler than I expected. The sky clear. I sat on the porch step and pulled the sleeves of my sweater down over my hands. The porch light hummed above me. From inside, their voices dropped back to normal. As if the whole thing hadn't happened. As if I hadn't been standing there. I sat for a long time, until the porch light flicked off. When I returned to the back, I didn't go to bed. I opened the notebook and wrote one sentence. They said I should be lucky to live here. Then I opened the red folder and started a new list. I pressed the folder into her hands. Linda locked the office door before opening it. She didn't ask questions, just motioned to the chair across from hers. I sat. She pulled out the statements one by one. My notes, screenshots, card activity, the printouts from the bank. She worked through them with a pen marking dates and amounts. 10 minutes in, she paused. This line here, see that I leaned forward. She circled it. A withdrawal, not in store, not ATM, not even a transfer I'd made. She flipped to the next page, then another. These aren't going to the same checking account anymore. I felt the knot tighten in my stomach. What do you mean they set up something else? A business account. You're listed as the silent partner. But you never signed this. She pulled out the last sheet. A form. My name printed at the bottom. A signature beside it. Not mine. I stared at the curve of the R. Too smooth. Mine always hooked. Always slightly angled. Linda raised an eyebrow. They're redirecting purchases, wire transfers, even rebates. Thousands at a time. That spa trip charged to the business, clothes, designer furniture, travel expenses. It's been active for at least 6 months. I didn't blink. How much? Linda flipped to the total summary. About 62 grand routed through that account. All under your name. All reported as business expenses. She leaned back. You could report this right now. But if you want to wait, we'll keep the trail. I'll box this. Lock it. She reached under her desk and pulled out a plain storage container. Slid the folder inside. Then she looked at me closely, carefully. Like she was weighing something. I didn't flinch. Make copies, I said. I already did. She pushed a second envelope across the desk. This one's yours. Store it off-site. I nodded, slid it into my bag. She closed the box and locked it. If they can forge your signature, they can forge other things. I know. Her tone softened. Marlene, are you sure you want to keep living there? I didn't answer. I just stood. Keep the originals safe, she added. We'll track the next 3 weeks, then file. Quietly. I'll send more documents tomorrow, I said. She walked me to the door, but didn't open it right away. You okay? I'm not angry, I said. That's the worst part. She didn't push. I drove home with the envelope tucked beneath the seat. Inside the house, the lights were dim. The smell of candles and wine lingered in the air. They'd had guests again. I hadn't been told. Tessa's voice drifted from the living room. The dining set comes next week. She'll probably think it's for her. Evan chuckled. She's been quiet lately. Tessa again, she's learned her place. I walked past them. They didn't notice. In the back room, I sat on the bed and opened the envelope. I added one more page to the folder. Then I printed out my will. I signed the first paper without hesitating. Linda watched. The banker nodded, double-checked the ID, slid the next form forward. Restrict access. Remove co-signers. Reissue account numbers. Done. The bank manager stepped out to make copies. Linda leaned in. You don't have to rush this. I'm not rushing, I said. I'm done waiting. We moved everything savings investments, the dormant account Robert left. All under a new umbrella. My name. My control. Not a single digital trail tied to Evan or Tessa now. I declined the new debit card. Cash withdrawals only. No automatic transfers. No linked accounts. Linda said nothing, just watched as I folded each slip of confirmation into a small blue folder. At the end, the manager returned with a warm smile and a plastic envelope. Everything's updated, Ms. Rayner. Let us know if you need additional security. I will. We left quietly. In the car, I opened my purse and touched the corner of the sealed envelope. Heavy paper. Thick seal. Addressed to a lawyer Linda had connected me to last year. Inside, updated will redirection clauses, property protections, notarized documents, and a complaint. Every page dated, stamped, recorded. I didn't mention it to Linda. I didn't mention it to anyone. Back home, I tucked the envelope under the floorboard in my room. Then I poured a cup of coffee and sat at the table. Evan passed by. Glanced at the documents but didn't ask. Tessa came downstairs with her phone pressed to her ear. Laughing. Yes, she's still here. No, she doesn't even know what day it is half the time. She walked past me like I was air. I stirred my coffee and took a sip. It was still hot. Later that night, I cleared the porch. Threw away the dying potted plants Tessa never watered. Moved the small bench to face the street. Wiped the dust off the armrest. Then I sat. The street was quiet. The air still. A dog barked somewhere 2 blocks over. I thought about Robert's signature, how solid it always looked, how he made me practice mine when we opened our first joint account. Practice like you mean it, he used to say. Now no one in this house asked me to sign anything. They just signed it for me. Not anymore. Inside, their laughter spilled from the living room. I took another sip and pulled the notebook from my coat pocket. Tonight's entry was short. All accounts moved. Letter sealed, notarized, quiet. I closed it, slid it back into my pocket, and let the night settle. Tomorrow I'd start measuring again. I drove with the heater off. Needed the air clear. Needed my thoughts sharper than comfort. Marcus Grant's office sat behind a faded green awning downtown. Same building he and Robert used 20 years ago. Same chipped brass plaque on the door. I knocked once, then walked in. He stood as soon as he saw me. Gray suit, no tie, same quiet eyes. Marlene, he said. It's been a while. I nodded, sat. He closed the door, locked it, and pulled out a single manila folder. Linda called. Said you'd come prepared. I slid the sealed envelope across his desk. He opened it without comment. Read quickly. Page after page. Paused once to raise his eyebrows, then kept reading. When he finished, he looked up. You're not bluffing. I don't have time to bluff. He leaned back. I'll hold all this. Trigger clause is clear. I act only when you say go. I nodded. Exactly. Not a minute before. Understood. He tapped the folder. Everything here's valid. Witnessed, stamped. You've got yourself covered. I'm not interested in revenge, Marcus. He smiled faintly. You're interested in peace. I stood. And distance. He handed me a small card. Burner number. If anything changes, call. Otherwise, I'll keep quiet. I took the card. Slipped it into my wallet. Back at the house, I parked 2 blocks away. Walked the rest. Inside, the living room was empty. TV on mute. A pair of designer heels tossed near the couch. I headed straight for my room. That night, I pulled out 2 storage bins I'd hidden in the crawl space weeks ago. Wiped the dust off. Labeled them with masking tape. Books, letters, documents. I packed slowly. A few things each night. Never enough to notice. The photograph of Robert and me from '89. The necklace he gave me after Evan was born. The worn flannel he used to wear every winter. I wrapped each piece in paper. Marked every box with numbers only I understood. I carried the bins to Linda's garage after dark. Slid them beside the others under a tarp. She didn't ask questions. Just handed me coffee and nodded. You're close, she said. I didn't answer. By the end of the week, I'd packed 6 boxes. Left nothing disturbed on the shelves. I dusted the gaps where things used to sit. Tessa didn't notice. Evan didn't ask. I measured the back shed again. Not for repairs. For exits. The night before the fundraiser one Tessa never formally invited me to, I added a final item to the red folder. The guest list. Typed, highlighted, with 3 names circled, witnesses. Then I placed it back under the floorboard. In the morning, I would wear gray, not to blend in, but to vanish. Tessa slapped the folder on the table. I want the guest bathroom gutted. Tile, sink, all of it. We're not living in 1995? I looked up from my coffee. She was already flipping pages. This is the contractor's quote. We'll need to do a home equity loan. I said nothing. Evan walked in, stretched, yawned like none of it mattered. He poured cereal into a bowl and spoke without looking up. Your name's still technically on the house, so you'll need to co-sign. Technically, I asked. He shrugged. On paper, you know? Tessa pointed to a page with a yellow tab. It's just a signature, no cost to you. The bank just needs all parties on the deed to approve the loan. I sipped the coffee. Lukewarm. She leaned in. It's not a big deal unless you make it one. Evan sat. Crunch, chew, silence. Just paperwork, he added. Nothing changes. You still live here. I nodded slowly. All right, I said. Leave it on the table. I'll look at it. Tessa blinked. Seriously, I nodded again. Sure, she smirked. Didn't think you'd be so reasonable. Evan smiled like he'd just won something. I took another sip of coffee and looked at the folder. I didn't open it. Not yet. They left for the gym. I waited until the car pulled out. Then I brought the folder into my room, set it next to the red one. Same table, same light, same slow breath. I flipped it open and scanned the documents. Bank name, loan value, term 15 years. Clauses about default shared liability property lien. I copied the pages I needed, highlighted sections in yellow, folded one sheet in half, and tucked it behind the others. Then I closed it. That night, over dinner, Tessa mentioned the renovation again. I want black fixtures, she said. Something modern. And a smart mirror. Evan nodded. Yeah, that sounds clean. They didn't ask me again. They thought I'd agreed. After the dishes were done, I walked outside. Cold air. Empty porch. The wind sharp but quiet. I pulled the burner phone from my coat pocket. Texted one word to Marcus pending. Then I zipped it back in and sat on the bench. The stars were faint but steady. Inside, Tessa laughed. Evan hummed to himself. I added a new line to my notebook. Let them think I said yes. It buys more time. I closed the cover, slid it under the seat cushion, and waited for the lights to go out. I handed the clipboard to the woman behind the glass. She glanced at the seal, then at my ID, then back to the documents I'd folded neatly exactly how Marcus instructed. She stamped, signed, dated, slid the originals back into my folder. Copies for your records. Yes, please. She smiled. I smiled back. That morning I wore gray again. Unremarkable. Clean. No lipstick. No perfume. Hair back. Tessa had gone in first, all perfume and heels, waving papers, talking fast. She strutted out with a plastic envelope tucked under her arm. Done and dusted, she said, holding the documents like a trophy. Ready for tile samples, she chirped as we walked to the car. I nodded, led the way. She didn't know those were decoys. Evan had handed them to me the night before, slipped under my door with a sticky note. Just sign the last page. We'll take care of the rest. I signed, but not what they gave me. Marcus had prepared an identical-looking packet. Same weight, same order, different contents. The real ones, what the notary stamped, revoked shared ownership, and registered lien protection under my name only, effective immediately. I filed them with the county the next day, quietly, in person. No digital trail. The tiles Tessa picked out were shiny, sharp-edged. She held one to the light and said, "This is luxury." I nodded. She held two side by side. "What do you think, mother-in-law, I picked the darker one?" She chose the lighter. Evan didn't care. They ordered samples. I watched the numbers add up. Back home, she snapped a selfie in front of the guest bathroom mirror. Posted it with the caption, "Bye-bye Grandma Tiles. Renovation Queen." I sat on the porch and wrote that down, word for word in my notebook. Then I checked the tracking number from the county office. Filed, received, processed. The signature they needed mine was never on their loan. It was on the papers that would end their project before it began. They didn't know yet. The contractor would. He'd call when the lien bounced back. I sat still, let the wind move around me. Inside, Tessa danced in socks across the tile she planned to rip up. Evan hummed something tuneless in the kitchen. They didn't hear the shift, didn't see the seal, the date, the lock clicking into place. Later that evening, I folded the gray sweater and placed it at the bottom of my suitcase. Not a suitcase for leaving, one for changing course. They handed me a folding chair. Not even a real one-metal-dented cold. Tessa pointed to the hallway between the guest bathroom and coat closet. "You like quiet, right?" she said loud enough for others to hear. "Corner's perfect for you." I didn't speak. Evan walked by holding a tray of drinks. He caught my eye and looked away. I set the chair down. Sat. From the hallway, I could hear them all. Music pulsing from someone's Bluetooth speaker. Laughter bouncing through the open living room. Ice clinking in glasses. Tessa's mother blew out candles. Guests clapped. One woman toasted to real family. No one looked my way. I watched shadows shift under the doorframe. Caught bits of sentences. "Her kitchen now not yours. I mean, if she's still here next year, that's on them. She used to be sharper, poor thing." Every word landed. I didn't flinch. Someone passed me a slice of cake on a napkin. No fork. I balanced it on my lap and watched the frosting melt. Later, I stood to help with the dishes. Tessa waved me off. "Sit, really. You've done enough in life." She smiled like it was generous. I sat. Listened to them talk about countertop finishes and investment condos. When the last guest left, I gathered the wrapping paper from the floor. Tessa yawned. Good party. Don't you think so, Evan? He nodded. Yeah. Everyone had a good time. I tied the trash bag, took it out back, breathed. The cold bit through my sleeves, but I stayed there. Let the chill dig in. They joked about me like I was a leftover from someone else's life, an object passed down, something tolerated. But they never asked how the mortgage still stayed balanced, who paid the utilities on time, whose credit still protected the house they claimed. I went to the shed, unlocked the drawer beneath my cot, pulled out the small envelope. Inside, stamped copies, ownership records, timed filings, notarized letters. I added one line to the note taped to the front. When the joke stops being funny, end the party. Then I placed it all back, locked the drawer, and turned off the light. The hallway still smelled like birthday candles and cheap perfume. I lay down without changing. Kept my shoes on. Kept the light off. Tomorrow, they'd get the call from the bank. I parked 2 spaces over from their SUV. Waited. Let them go in first. Through the glass, I watched Tessa lead, confident folder in hand. Evan trailed behind, checking his phone. I counted to 30, then followed. Inside, the banker's name tag read Gerald. Late 40s, polite but firm. He took the papers from Tessa, flipped through them slowly. His brow furrowed. He typed something into his computer. Paused. Typed again. Checked the screen. Looked up. I'm sorry, he said. There's an issue. Tessa blinked. Issue. Gerald turned the monitor slightly, just enough to make the words visible. Evan leaned forward. His forehead creased. That can't be right, he said. Gerald cleared his throat. The system shows the deed was transferred last week. Sole ownership now rests with Marlene Rayner. Tessa stiffened. No, that's a mistake. She didn't sign anything. I stepped forward. I did, I said. Evan turned. So did Gerald. The room shifted in temperature. I signed with my lawyer, I continued. Notarized, filed. County registered it last Tuesday. Tessa's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Evan stepped back like someone had shoved him. Gerald nodded slowly, then closed the folder. Without her on the deed, he said the equity loan cannot proceed. Her authorization is now the only one that matters. Silence. Tessa stared at me, lips parted, chest rising fast. You lied, she hissed. You tricked us. No, I said. You assumed. I looked at Evan. He didn't meet my eyes. You said it was just paperwork, I reminded him. Now it is. Gerald stood. We're done here, unless Ms. Rayner wants to proceed with a new application. I don't, I said. I turned to leave. Tessa's voice cracked behind me. You're ruining everything. Do you even understand that I didn't answer? In the lobby, 2 of their friends were seated waiting for an appointment. One looked up. I saw the recognition, the whisper, the silence that followed. I didn't break stride. Outside, the wind pulled at my coat. The air smelled cleaner. I walked past their SUV, noticed the new lease sticker. Expensive. Recent. Keys jingled in my pocket. I unlocked my own car, slid in, shut the door. They built their comfort on something I still owned. They used my name to feed their version of success. Now they would feel what happened when the ground gave way. Back home, I boiled water for coffee, sat by the window while it brewed. The house was empty. I took a small envelope from the drawer, added 1 sentence to the letter inside. They know now. I sealed it, filed it under Phase 2. Tessa screamed, not cried, not argued. Screamed, pitched sharp breaking glass somewhere inside her throat. I didn't flinch. She stormed into the kitchen, waving her phone. You humiliated us, that banker told everyone. Evan followed, red-faced. Can we just talk? Mom, please? I stayed seated at the table. Calm, a fresh cup of coffee in front of me. I reached into the drawer, pulled out the envelope, slid it across the table. Everything's in there, I said. Tessa yanked it open. Papers spilled. She scanned the top page, then the second. Her voice cracked. Deed transfer. Revocation of co-access. Trust reallocation. What is this? Evan leaned over her shoulder. His eyes moved fast. Faster. I sipped my coffee. You used my name to shop to lease a car to open accounts, I said. To pretend you owned what you never paid for. I pointed to the second page. Now I used my name to protect what's mine. Tessa dropped the papers. This is insane. You're not some victim. You lived here for free. I looked up. Lived in a shed. Paid every bill. Let you wipe your shoes on my name. That's not free. Evan stepped forward. You could have just said no. I did, I said. You just didn't hear it. Silence. The kind that settles in a room too fast. Too final. I stood, took the papers and slid them back into the envelope. I'm not suing you, I said. Yet. Tessa scoffed. You wouldn't. I met her eyes. Try me. Evan sat, face in hands. Not the man I raised, just a boy who thought love was measured in money. You brought this on yourself, I said softer now. I turned to leave. Behind me, chairs scraped. A glass fell. I didn't look back. Out in the yard, the light hit the porch in strips. I walked to the bench. Sat. Closed my eyes. The weight was shifting, not gone, but shifting. They would scramble now, call lawyers, blame each other. Let them. The fire they lit was burning toward their own front door. I would let it, quietly. He knocked twice. Firm. Familiar, like I'd always come. I didn't move. Through the peephole, I saw him jacket wrinkled, tie loose, holding flowers that looked too bright for the moment. I stayed still. Another knock. Then silence. A minute passed. Then a whisper through the crack. Mom, please. I turned off the porch light. He lingered. The flowers drooped in his hands. He shifted from foot to foot. I could almost hear the panic trying not to show. I waited behind the door. After 5 minutes, I heard the soft scrape paper sliding under the frame. His handwriting. Rushed. A corner bent. I picked it up after he walked away. We need help. Everything's falling apart. I folded the note. Put it in the drawer with the others. No reply. No call. No text. I made coffee. Drank it hot this time. Outside, the day moved like any other. Delivery trucks. Birds on the fence. A lawnmower somewhere in the distance. Inside, no begging could undo what had already collapsed. They gambled with my name, my credit, my dignity. Now they were watching it all slip slow and public. Tessa had posted less. The renovation account was suddenly private. Her friends had gone quiet in the group chat. I knew because Linda checked. I turned the phone face down. The flowers sat wilted outside the door for 2 days. Then they were gone, replaced by silence. The kind that doesn't ask questions. The kind that finally understands this door won't open again. I pressed it flat on the counter. Red binder. Zip closure. No label on the front. Just wait. The clerk didn't ask questions. She took it open to the first page skimmed. Timeline, account numbers, signatures that weren't mine. Loan applications I never saw. Purchase histories from luxury stores I never entered. She nodded. Once took it to the back. I didn't stay. I walked out without looking back. This wasn't about pressing charges. It was about keeping a record. Leaving a trail. If anyone ever asked what happened, there would be a page for that. With names, with dates. I didn't need court. I needed a ledger. A place where my side existed in ink. Back home, the house was still. No more slamming doors. No more shoes left in the hallway. No perfume trails down the stairs. No Tessa rehearsing fake sweetness into the phone. Quiet. I brewed coffee. Poured 1 cup. Sat at the table. The red binder had been sitting in the closet for weeks. I'd filled it at night. Quiet hands, steady pen. No one knew. The pages had grown heavier with each printout. Every screenshot. Every text message copied and pasted. They told me I was overreacting. Now the pages said otherwise. I wasn't chasing punishment. I wasn't even angry anymore. I just wanted the truth to sit somewhere still, to exist, in full. I opened my laptop, marked the courthouse log, saved the receipt of drop-off. Then I closed everything. The folder was gone. But the silence felt earned now. Tessa hadn't spoken to me in days. Evan, neither. They moved like ghosts when they crossed the kitchen, if they crossed it at all. I didn't speak either. I let the quiet stretch. Let it say what I no longer needed to. I turned the key and slid the door open. The metal groaned. Dust rose. The air inside was dry, boxed-up memory. Most of it was just things: old blankets, photo frames, a lamp with a cracked base. I wasn't here for any of that. I found the small gray container near the back, exactly where I'd left it. Lifted it. Lighter than I remembered. I carried it out into the light, set it on the tailgate, opened it. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was Robert's old coffee mug. Black, chipped near the rim, still intact. I held it with both hands, warmed by sunlight, not heat. Below it, folded once, was a letter, his handwriting crooked and uneven. Keep a little for yourself. They'll forget to. I stood there a long time just holding it. I hadn't smiled in months. Not really. But this brought something back. Not joy, not relief, just recognition. Like someone had seen me once and left something behind to prove it. I repacked the mug carefully, tucked the letter in my coat pocket, locked the unit again, drove home slowly. The house waited. Still. No music, no voices. I boiled water, brought down my own mug, paused, then reached for his instead, poured the coffee, sat at the table. The rim touched my lip where his had years ago. He always drank it too hot. I let it cool. I pulled the letter out again, set it beside me. There was nothing else I needed to read today. I drank the coffee slowly, let it fill me. I opened the sliding door and stepped outside. Morning air, crisp, clean, no voices, no footsteps above me, no Tessa calling down the hallway, no Evan pacing the floor. Just quiet. I set the mug down on the porch rail. The ceramic was warm in my hands. Steam rose soft and slow. The words printed in small black letters caught the light still mine. I sat, watched a single car drive past. No one looked up. No one knew. No one needed to. The condo wasn't large, but it was mine, paid in full. My name on the deed, the insurance, the mailbox. No cosigners, no hidden access. Marcus helped. Linda helped. But I signed every page myself. I had packed light, 2 suitcases, a locked file box, and Robert's mug. I didn't leave a note. I didn't owe one. They would come home to silence. No forwarding address, no door left open, just space where I used to be. I didn't take anything that wasn't already mine, except peace, that I reclaimed. I sipped slowly, let the coffee settle in. No rush. The red binder was filed. The lawyers were briefed. The freeze orders sent. No lawsuit, just closure. I had nothing left to prove. They'd stop calling eventually. Grasping turns into silence when no one pulls back. The sun climbed higher. The street glowed. I didn't move. Didn't plan. Didn't wait for anyone. I stayed with the mug in my hand, still mine.